Hello YouTube. First of all, let's get some serious business out of the way. I will not be making a video next week because I will be in Utah, the beautiful land of quasi-theocratic morons and Mormons who sent money to fund a hateful and homophobic piece of legislation in a state that is not their own. If anyone would like to fill in for me next Friday, please send me a message somehow and get it registered. So yes, without further ado, we shall proceed to rant. If you're watching this, it is quite conceivable that your political views would warrant you being closely watched in the state of Missouri, and that your political views would also warrant you being shot in the state of Michigan. Permit me to elaborate. I'll start with Michigan, because this one really pisses me off. Derek Kopp, a college student, was unarmed and was shot by a police officer. He was shot and he's wounded. What the media in Michigan is doing is they're looking at his Facebook page and digging up stuff on him. What they've found is that, oh my goodness, he makes drug references. He quotes the Grateful Dead. And he calls himself a hippie, and he supports drug legalization, or at least the legalization of marijuana and of medicinal marijuana. Oh my god! Someone who listens to trippy music and promotes rational political views. We should shoot him! They're effectively doing this as apologetics on behalf of the police. Fail. That's not how you do it. It is never legitimate, and it's just a way of blaming the victim. But this doesn't even scratch the surface of the state and the establishment's war on independent political thought. Let's examine what's going on in Missouri. In Missouri, they've published a report on how to identify members of militias, or domestic terrorists in general. Some of the things that they've mentioned is support for third parties, including the Libertarian Party, and support for such candidates as Ron Paul, Bob Barr, and Chuck Baldwin. Now, admittedly, Chuck Baldwin is a theocratic right-wing psycho, and I have serious doubts about anyone who supports Chuck Baldwin. But that being said, it's still not a legitimate reason to put someone up to scrutiny by the state, because, well, freedom of speech for the motherfucking win. And so it goes on. You find all these things that they list. Opposition to the Federal Reserve is one of them. Belief in conspiracy theories, which I don't believe in conspiracy theories, and I don't like conspiracy theories, but still. Freedom of thought, again. And opposition to gun control laws. Having been online is another one, in a chat room. So, yes, all these things targeting libertarians and members of the Independence Party. But, oh, the best one? You know that flag, that Don't Tread on Me flag that I had in the intro? That is something that our founding fathers used. It was a frequent thing of the Revolutionary War, but according to this, it's also something associated with domestic terrorists. And having lots of libertarian bumper stickers or stuff like this is something that will get you considered a domestic terrorist. This kind of profiling of independents and political radicals has been going on for a great deal of time now. Let's just go through a few examples. In the 20th century, Sacco and Vanzetti, two anarchists who were convicted in an unfair trial, or what is generally considered an unfair trial, primarily because of abhorrence at their radical political views, fueled in part by the Red Scare. Then there's Schenck v. United States, in which Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes of the Supreme Court coined the phrase shouting fire in a crowded theater to describe the actions of socialists who were distributing pamphlets in opposition to World War I and the draft. Yeah, that's real falsely shouting fire. There was a pretty big fire going on considering all that death. And we find tons of cases with the Red Scare at COINTELPRO and the harassment of guys like Martin Luther King, of the Black Panthers, of Malcolm X, all that bullshit. And then we enter our time, and we see more stuff. The protesters at the RNC, for instance, the Republican National Convention, they were repeatedly arrested for nonviolent actions. The organizers of protests were arrested before the protests happened, and it's all just this massive thing where the government fears radical political views. Gates, I'll see you tomorrow.